no bigger ick than if they're picking a place by their apartment.
Yeah. Welcome to Broken Shaker at the Freehand. Recently revamped. It is a staple in New York City, one of the best rooftop cocktail bars, so definitely find me here in the summer. Really cool vibes, great drinks, and you can have a whole night in this building. There's Bar Calico and Georgia Room downstairs. So let's check it out. Welcome back to Drinks First, the podcast where you can match with New York City's Kind of Eligible. Today we are at Broken Shaker, one of the best rooftops in New York City and a great place for Drinks First events. We are currently in the Freehand Hotel that houses a lot of different venues, including Broken Shaker, Georgia Room, and Bar Calico. Super excited to be here. We're here today with a really exciting guest. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for being here. We start every episode with asking where you're from, where do you live now, and how old are you?
I'm from New Jersey. I live in New York in Union Square, and I'm 28 years old.
And what do you do for work?
I work in advertising.
Eddie, if you want to give any more information about that.
I work at an ad agency. I do paid search, so search engine marketing on like Google and Microsoft. Yeah.
I noticed this the other day when we were at other ships. Somebody asked you what you did, and you did not at all mention what the other thing you do outside of work.
Well, I mean, I feel like, I don't know, like if someone asks you for your job, you tell them your job,
right?
Not like your other like
side hustle.
Yeah.
Do you not consider that a job?
No, I do, but it's like I don't feel like I need to bring that up right away unless it comes up. Yeah, because it's just like, I don't know, not always relevant depending on who you're talking to. Like if I'm at an event, obviously it's going to come up.
Okay, well, do you want to tell us the other thing you do?
Yeah, I do like New York City restaurant food content, like restaurants, bars, comedy shows, experiences. I'll do content in other cities if I'm traveling. But yeah, pretty much eating everywhere, drinking everywhere, all the content things.
How long have you been doing that for?
I've been doing it 3.5 years.
Is that when you moved to New York?
Almost. So like I moved to New York in March of 2021, and then I started content in October of 2021, so like 6 months later.
What prompted you to start doing content?
Yeah, so I've always been obsessed with restaurants. So because I grew up in Jersey, I would come into the city a lot, obviously, and I was like a psycho about where, like everywhere I would go, and I would have a massive list in my notes and like had to hit all of them in like one visit as if it was my last day on earth. And it'd be like this bakery, this restaurant, like all the things. And I was just like obsessed, like had to go to all the cool new spots. And like, obviously back then it was just Instagram. So I was always trying to go to like the hot Instagram spots, you know, whatever was like Instagrammable.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward to moving to the city, I was still, you know, always like, okay, I need to go to this restaurant and this thing. And then I was like, why don't I just do something with it? But I never thought to make a food page because I was like, who's going to follow this? Like, there's so many.
Right. You kind of started like after COVID.
A little bit. Yeah. Like, I was like, who's going to follow this? Because there's just, it's such a saturated
market
field. Yeah. But I was like, if I, you know, genuinely like love this and like basically do this like organically anyway, like I might as well do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like even one of my friends' boyfriends would joke like when we studied abroad that I had like a secret food page because I was like so obsessed, and I was like, no, like I actually don't have one. But yeah, so then I finally just kind of went for it, and I was like, we'll just do this.
Yeah. Where did you go to college?
I went to Penn State.
Okay. And what did you study there?
I studied journalism, but I did like a minor in advertising, digital media, like all the marketing things.
So it already kind of plays into both of the things you're doing now.
Yeah, no, I've always like been very into writing, marketing, content, like even, do you remember in college, like the Odyssey?
Yeah, that sounds
It was like
familiar.
very college coded, and it was basically like a college publication where
like Spoon University.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it would just be like every college had like an Odyssey team, and you would just write articles about pop culture or whatever. So I did that, and yeah, I was doing like all these news things and like basically making content in college. And I actually had to do like a class where you had to create like an Instagram, and I did make like a Penn State food account.
Okay.
But it was fully for like the project. Like I immediately dropped it like, after.
Okay, so post-COVID, like I feel like most people I know who got started in social media and have been successful with it have either been doing it for like 10 plus years, or maybe they popped off during COVID. You started after. So where did you really, because I think a lot of people glamorize social media as like a potential career path, and it is so saturated and it's so hard to make it. You have been able to create like a second stream of income in a couple of years, which a lot of people aren't able to achieve. So what do you think really got you there?
Yeah, I know. I think about how like I'm always like, oh, I wish I started sooner, but the reality is that I couldn't have, because I didn't live in New York until 2021. So like during 2020, like I lived at home, and so I wouldn't have been able to create like New York City content yet. But I don't know, like honestly, biggest thing is like hustling. And I think if you genuinely already integrate like whatever your lifestyle of like going out to eat all the time, if that's a part of your life and you're not doing it for like the content or for like the free food, like it's just going to be something easy to integrate into content. But yeah, you have to be like really consistent. I know that when I did my first post in like October of 2021, like I immediately did a reel, and like reels I think came out in 2020.
We're so new, yeah.
But I was like immediately in the wavelength of videos, because that's truly what got everyone a following in present day. Like if you, like obviously carousels have come back, but if you want to grow, like you got to do videos like majority of your posts, because that's how you're going to like get new people. So yeah, I was immediately like doing videos, starting with like content that I had from like life prior to like blogging. And then yeah, pretty much was just like connecting with like restaurants all over the place. And yeah,
like you were asking them.
I think I probably started reaching out to some, and like I was connecting with other food bloggers who, you know, you always bounce off like what places you're going to. And so yeah, started doing a couple collabs with places that I knew other people were, you know, collaborating with. But I think you kind of just like dive in head first and just start like posting as much content as you can, and then you start meeting people, going to events, and you kind of like learn the lay of the land.
Yeah, I think what's interesting with food specifically is that there is somewhat of a financial barrier to like, you know, you have to kind of be going out to eat all the time.
Right.
I think a lot of people don't realize how much you do actually pay for. Like when you are a food influencer, like I make food content also as a byproduct of Drinks First, because it falls into what we talk about on the show, obviously, and in the ethos of who we are, which is like New York City lifestyle. Hospitality has always been a huge interest for me. I've always loved eating out and bars and nightlife. And when you start, you are putting that financial investment. You're not getting anything for free up front.
100%. And like, I don't know if some people go into food blogging with the
intention of like getting free food.
Yeah, and like are not truly like into like the restaurant scene. I don't really know anyone who had that initial intention, but for me it was like, obviously that's nice, but like I'm just like into going to restaurants, and so, you know, the free stuff is like an added benefit, but ultimately like you just want to like share your passion and then like, you know, give people recommendations.
Yeah, I feel like a peek behind the curtain, because you are pretty transparent on social media about talking about the behind the scenes of being a food influencer. I think that's like an interesting thing to talk about, because yes, we do get invited to a lot of things. We do get free food, but a lot of the times you don't say yes. You don't want to promise posting anything for something you can't like fully back 100%. Then it puts you in like a weird position. How do you kind of deal with that inbound, and how do you choose what you want to go to? Because even when there are new openings, a lot of times influencers will flock there, and people will be like, oh, this place just paid everyone to go. And it's like, no, it's actually just, this is an exciting opening, and these are the kinds of people who like to keep their tabs on it, and everybody goes and pays for it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think where you start from like the beginning of the account to like where you are a couple of years later is like a light years difference. So like when you're starting, you're like so excited to work with any restaurant, obviously. And then over the years, hopefully you're pickier and just, you know, very particular about where you want to go, where you want to post. So like now I think that like a lot of times it's like, okay, this restaurant opened and I've been to their sister restaurants, love it there. I have a good feeling like I'm gonna like it because like I've eaten at their other spots. I think like just looking at the menu and figuring out like, okay, like, is this my vibe? Like all the things. But yeah, I mean, it's not gonna always be 100%. You can go somewhere that you think is gonna be amazing and it's not. But that's why you just have to be, you know, really, you know, picky about like where you're going, because I think like people forget it's a commitment, and like these places could be on your backs about posting. And, you know, sometimes the pressure of posting for a restaurant is not worth it when you can just, you know, drop the $50 or whatever it is and just decide on your own if you like it. I feel like I know so many people who, you know, clearly also are in the mindset of like paying majority because they want to like have a reputable brand and, you know,
have the autonomy to like make the decision whether or not they want to post something.
Yeah, because when you're this far into it, like it's the free food is not really, you know, as, you know, exciting. And so like, yes, it's nice, but it's like you could get a free food offer pretty much anywhere. So at the end of the day, like you're building a brand, you want to make it align with, you know, this kind of spots that you go to. And so it's going to be really obvious when you post somewhere that is not a match to your vibe. And now it's just kind of like, there's just nothing worse than like dreading to post something that you just weren't excited about.
Right.
And I really try to focus on going to places that I'm very excited about, because it's just so much work doing all this content. And if you're gonna do the work, do it on somewhere that you're like truly like, I love this place and I want people to go, not like, ugh, I told them I would post, now I have to post.
Yeah, I also think there is a large misconception around people getting paid.
Yeah.
Most restaurants in New York City cannot afford to pay influencers their rates. So it is oftentimes an exchange of like goods, basically, or services. Like, okay, we're exchanging a meal in return for like potentially you posting what you think is appropriate. And that's not money. Like, and a lot of times you go to these restaurants and you still tip. So you are still losing money, quote unquote, losing money on like the interaction, right? Like sometimes I'll go to a restaurant and they'll bring me out like $500 worth of food that I would never order if I just went on my own. But I'm still like going there and tipping the staff because that's like the right thing to do, obviously. But a lot of these like massive places, they don't pay you to come and post. Like the brands that you see that pay you are like huge conglomerates. Those are the people that have money. So I think there's like a common misconception with like specifically food influencers. Oh, you're getting paid to post this restaurant.
I know. It's almost just like funny because it's like, I wish I was getting paid by these places. And I think that like at the most, yeah, we're getting a free meal, which I think I think is what they meant to kind of call out. And I think that I understand where they're coming from, because a lot of influencers hype up all these places, and half the time they are getting free meals. And so, you know, I can understand someone being annoyed if, like, that's kind of why they're hyping it up, because they got it for free.
Totally.
But it's just funny to me that they're jumping to this grand conclusion that we're getting paid. Like, they clearly know nothing about the restaurant industry. And it's like, I don't know. I think they just kind of come up with their own, you know, ideas about all of this.
Right. So one question that I ask everybody on the show is, where do you like to eat and where do you like to go out?
I really should have prepared some restaurant answers, because these are the hardest questions.
Right.
I rarely repeat going to spots, because I'm always trying to go somewhere I haven't been, somewhere that's new. I definitely have a list of restaurants that I love, and I think I got like a frame of like matchbooks of them in my apartment. But I mean, some of them are, I'm gonna do like some that are basic that everybody loves, and then I'm gonna do some that are like a little more under the radar.
Yeah, give them.
But I mean, I hate to be basic, but like Fort Charles is amazing. Peasant is more of like an under the radar one. I don't know if you've been.
I haven't been, but I've heard of it.
It's so freaking good. It's in Nolita. It's candlelit, dark, super romantic, and they just have like unbelievable food. They have like this amazing spicy rigatoni. They have this like steak tartare with like a giant pillowy pita. And they have this dish that is kind of like a Don Angie dupe, but not truly like, it's like a short rib rosette. So it's obviously different type of food, but like literally looks like the pinwheel lasagna, and it's so good. I don't know. I mean, in terms of cuisines, like Mediterranean is probably my favorite. Like put a meze in front of me and I'm like obsessed. So I love like Laser Wolf. I mean, I could go all day, honestly.
I mean, I feel like if there's anybody to ask this question to, it's you. So
yeah, no, the problem is there's too many.
I know, it's a tough
question. But it also is such a hard question, because like I said, I don't repeat a lot, and I think that in order to really pick a favorite, you got to go somewhere multiple times. But I have been to Fort Charles multiple times.
Okay.
So,
I mean, for anybody listening, like, what's the hack? How do you get into Fort Charles?
So, funny enough, the 3 times I've been, my friends were the ones that got the reservations. They didn't do anything crazy. Like, they honestly probably, like, waited till midnight and got it. But I do have a couple, like, tips. One, for getting into Fort Charles, they do have brunch. Apparently, they've always had brunch, but they apparently recently made Friday brunch also. So just take off work and go to Fort Charles. So brunch is easier to get into, like reservation wise or walk in. And then for dinner, you're probably gonna have an easier time walking in than getting a reservation. So go really early, like 4 o'clock, which I don't know if that's when they open or before they open.
They open at 5, so I think going at 4 earlier.
Exactly, because I think I saw a TikTok about this, that they will tell you what times they have open later that night, and you can just come back. So go really early. I've also heard the reverse of going really late, like 10 o'clock and getting like a last minute table. But yeah, like people forget the art of walking in. I mean, obviously it's not foolproof, but you gotta have like backup plans.
Yeah.
But I'm like very creative when it comes to figuring out ways to get into restaurants. Like I've emailed, I've called. There's restaurants like Casa Tua and Cafe Zaffrey that have a reservation business card, which I've emailed, and they basically bypass the Resi system and give you reservations that are not even available online.
Right.
And like for both of those places, I think like, or Cafe Zaffrey, like I literally
they're on Open Table.
No, they are, but like basically at the time of like wanting a reservation, everything was out, and so I passed the restaurant one night, got their reservation card, emailed them, and they were able to get me something that was not existing online. Yeah. And Casa Tua, also, like if you want a reservation in their like dining room, you need to email the card. And like, these are just things where you could like literally just pop in, get the card, and email for another day. But I would say that for Casa Tua, you should dine in the lounge room, not the dining room. And the lounge room is walk-in only, so just go really early.
These are all great tips. Like,
no, it's like you need to like always do the like trifecta: email, call, walk-in, reservation, like all the things. I don't believe in the buying reservation life.
No. And it's illegal now to buy reservations.
I guess, but there's still
I don't know how they're cracking down on it.
There's still platforms that do it.
Yeah.
And I was looking at one of the platforms recently, and I was going through all the restaurants that they have on the site, and I'm like I could figure out how to get into all these restaurants. Like, none of the restaurants that they're displaying are hard enough that warrants paying
like a $200 premium to get in.
Right, but it's also like none of them are just hard enough where you couldn't get a table. And so it's just crazy to me that there's even a list. Like, I think one of them was like maybe a private members one that like is nice, but at the end of the day, like, there's no restaurant that is not hackable to get into.
Totally.
Except for like Rayo's, like.
Right.
But you need to know someone.
You need to know someone for Rayo's. I know some people have very, very rarely had luck trying to walk in at the bar. But for the most part, you need to know somebody who has a table.
Yeah, because they don't even live in a reservation world. So it's just,
it's like a members club, honestly. It's like people just own their table.
It's a different
ball
sector,
game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even with members clubs, like those are maybe the slightly harder things to get into as well.
Yeah.
But the reservation game in New York City is completely out of hand. But I think a lot of people do forget that if there is humanity behind it, like if you walk in and you just talk to somebody at the host stand, be like, hey, can you put us on a cancellation list for later today? Like, you might have a better chance at getting a table at like a Don Angie or an East Sodi if you actually just show up in person.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think all the hot spots like Don Angie and whatnot, you gotta just walk in really early. One more tip that I have is for Misi Lilia. My friend used to live near it, and he would just basically walk up and have them make a reservation for him for a later date. So some places will be willing to do that, where they'll just, look in their system, make it for you in a way that you could not do yourself.
Definitely.
So you gotta try all the angles.
Right.
Yeah.
It's insanity in New York
It's a
now.
full-time job.
Yeah.
But you gotta just be smart and creative about it, and not rely on oh, I couldn't find a reservation, that's it. No, there's so many ways to go about it.
Yeah. And I mean, for the hardest restaurants, quote unquote hardest restaurants, like Teresi, you can go for lunch, you can walk in for the bar. Polo Bar, if you have an Amex, you can get them to call for you. You don't get the best times, you can get a 5:30 or a 10, but it's still something.
No, totally.
Generally, the rule of thumb is you can probably get a reservation early or a reservation really late.
And I don't know if you've ever seen the crown on times on a restaurant.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
about?
Yeah. I've gotten that randomly for Don Angie, and it's I didn't do anything to warrant it, but I have a friend who
Do you have an Amex?
No.
So you're not on global dining access at all?
I don't think so.
You never see the purple squares on Resi?
No.
Okay, so if you have an Amex.
No, I know. I don't think that it had anything to do with my card, is what I'm saying. I think I randomly have a crown on Don Angie. Went once, couldn't tell you why.
Yeah.
But I have a friend who I think I figured out how you get a crown. And my friend was at Fort Charles, and he said that they will manually put a crown for you so that you can get times available for the
I know there's
restaurant.
some sneaky stuff that happens in the back end, one time I went to Ruby Rosa and they brought out all of this stuff for me, and I was like, why? Love Ruby Rosa, one of my favorite places.
Yeah.
Confused. I was like, this makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
And my friend looked at them and was like, oh, did you know that she was an influencer? And I was like, not an influencer, that's for one. But they were hee hee, and then walked away. And what I realized is on the back end of Resi, they can mark you as like...
I know you and Morgan have talked about this. Yeah. I haven't like had an experience though where, you know, got any special treatment because they
I think
noticed
certain
that.
PR agencies can like put it into your Resi account if they work with certain... Like, that's not an everyday tip,
No,
obviously.
totally.
But
I guess I haven't seen that in action.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, the reservation. Well, also, like, where do you like to go out? Completely different question.
Or like night?
Nightlife.
Okay.
Nightlife, bars, first dates.
Well, okay. For dates, I'm not really picking the
Right.
spots.
And we'll get back to that.
Yeah, we will. But in terms of like going out, I mean, definitely less now that I'm aging, but...
Now that I'm old and decrepit.
Yeah, I mean, I still, even the same way with restaurants, I like to go to new spots with a mix of old, but like, the new spot, like Cosmo's really good if you like house music. Unveiled is pretty good. So like there was another new spot I went to, It Will Come to Me. I mean, Lucy's is fun. It's kind of like a lot of drama with getting in, so like I haven't been in a long time, but it's fun, good music. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the going out vibe is kind of like who you're with, what's in the itinerary, and then you kind of end up somewhere in the neighborhood that you're already at. But yeah, ideally dancey spots, but...
What about cocktail bars?
Cocktail bars. Recently love Avio.
Oh, Obvio, the like giraffe theme bar. I haven't been.
Bar by Casa Cruz is really cool. I did get like I think a $30-something cocktail, $30-something cocktail, which is unfortunate, but it was very good.
Okay.
That's not their whole price of cocktails on the menu, but that was the one that spoke to me, unfortunately. But yeah, that would be like a really cool date spot. I love like Le Bar Penelope. I think if you go on like a weeknight, it will be more like tame and like good for a date. But if you go on the weekend, they have like a DJ and it's super lively. I don't know. The problem is I've been to like probably every cool cocktail bar,
right? And
it's kind of the same formula, right? Like you got the good ambiance, you've got the cool drinks, dark, you know, vibey atmosphere. It's kind of hard to find a bad cocktail bar these days.
That's actually true. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to dates though, you don't like choosing the date spot.
No, like it's, you know, all I do is the work when it comes to restaurants and
to be a woman is to work.
No, literally. And like all I'm doing is like I am like the social chair of like my friend Orbit. And so, you know,
relatable.
I'm the one picking the restaurants and the bars and
making the reservations
and like, is it because I want to go to the spots I want to go to? Sure. But yeah, like it is a lot of work. And so yeah, when I go on dates, like I'm like fully like off. Like I'm like, doesn't even matter where we go at this point because I'm not gonna lift a finger.
Like you're gonna be the one who chooses the place.
Yeah, and I think that.
But do you judge people based off of where they choose?
I think nowadays, like I said, it's kind of hard to pick a bad spot. Well, I'll say that first of all, even if I wasn't in like the food blogger space, I still feel like I should pick the spot just because like I'm traditional and so I like them like putting that effort in initially. But no, I feel like now it's harder for them to pick a bad spot. I think that the thing that to me in present day matters most is that they're picking a spot that either is convenient for like me in terms of where I live, or at the very least like in the middle of us. Like, no bigger ick than if they're picking a place by their apartment. I once went on a date with a guy who we went to Ace Bar, which was honestly, that is a place I'm judging you that you picked. Like I'm fully judging you because I've been there at night and like to me it's just not giving date spot at all. But again, just went along with it and like at the time I lived in East Village. He also lived in East Village. So I was like, this geographically is
Makes
fine.
sense. Yeah.
And as we're talking about where we live, I'm like, so where do you live? And he's like, across the street. I'm like, how convenient for you. Like, terrible choice.
Yeah.
And then he felt pretty bad about it because it's like, yeah, like, why are you picking a spot across your apartment? I think we both know why. But guess what? I'm not coming to see your apartment. Yeah. So the joke's on you. So that's to me is a huge ick because it's like, you have this assumption that I'm going to come over and it's like,
it's either the assumption that you're going to come over or it's the lack of effort that you made to
right, because it's like
go a little further.
This guy literally was like, and he like pushed our date back a little bit and didn't say why. He went to the gym. Like, he's like having like a spa day and I'm like, so you needed to go to the gym and then you get to hop across the street back to your apartment? Like, I don't think so.
Right. All of the work that I put in to go to this date, do my makeup, do my hair, like show up looking nice. So
that's honestly,
and I came to you.
That's the worst thing you can do is pick a spot by you because it's so selfish, and it's like that is way worse to me than like someone who picks a bar that's just not like the best vibe.
Right. Yeah, and I like you can pick a spot that's by you like multiple dates in, but like for a first date. It's either got to be a midpoint
100%.
or it's got to be closer to the girl.
Yeah.
I prefer a midpoint, just generally across the board, because even if it's like closer to the girl, like, oh, we can just get a drink like right around you, then it's like, okay, well, do you assume you're coming back to my place then?
No, I don't think that they assume when it's near you, but I could see where you mean, and I think it depends on the context of the person.
Right.
But I think from where I come from, like, if they do end up picking something like relatively near me, like even like a 15-minute walk, it's because like, oh, like they want to walk me home type of thing, which is nice.
Yeah.
But because if like anyone's going over, like, you're certainly not coming to me first. But again, context matters.
Right. I mean, I feel like I have this issue a lot because of what I do. People just expect me to plan. It's one, because of what I do, and also two, like, because I grew up here. And they're like, well, you're from here. Like, you would know better.
Right. And that's why it's like, you really have to like push it back, because it's like, yeah, sure, I could plan the best date of our lives.
Exactly.
But that's not my job. And it's like, just because someone can do it doesn't mean that they should.
Right.
And the whole point is to see their level of effort. And so it's not about, oh, who's the most qualified to plan this date. Like, it doesn't matter who has the better recommendations. It matters, like, that you are just making effort.
Yeah. How are you finding dates?
Like, how am I acquiring going on a date? I meet them on the apps, and then obviously, like, I try to meet people in person, but, you know, that happens here and there. I mean, I think it's nice that you and I are, like, we do meet a lot of people at events. But I also, like, if I met like a male food blogger, like, I'm sorry, like, that's just not gonna, we're never going out. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
I'm like even just trying to think about any of the male food bloggers, and I think they're all like married, honestly, or in serious relationships, truly.
Even if they weren't. Yeah. I just like, I just think honestly, even like, I don't see myself dating a male influencer, period.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, and it really goes to opposites attract. Like, I don't think that we should, like...
so then what's your type? What do you gravitate towards?
I mean, I don't think it, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, they need to do this occupation. Like, do whatever you want. Like, as long as, you know, you're passionate and ambitious and it's whatever. I just feel like I don't see myself with someone who does the same type of, like, and I think...
Social media.
Yeah, and I think this is such a unique situation, right? Because let's say I worked in finance and the guy worked in finance also, like, we wouldn't think anything weird of that.
Right.
But this is such a specific niche. And I mean, it's not even my full-time job, but it's just, you know, it is a big part of my life, and I just don't see, I don't see that.
It doesn't matter about job, occupation, whatever.
No.
But you are meeting people through the apps. What apps?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm on Hinge and Marble currently.
Okay, just 2 right now.
Yes.
All right. Tell me about Because actually,
Oh my
you've worked
God.
with them and Owen's worked with them.
Oh, and we have a lot to talk about.
I'm not giving anybody any free advertising here.
I know, that's why I'm surprised you're talking about that.
I'm like, we can maybe, you're on this dating app right now
Yes.
that is like basically a reservation first platform. Like, this is not a new concept. There are other apps that are doing this that are like plan the date first and then like,
but with the like reservation component?
yeah, like I think like First Rounds on Me does that, or like something similar. Then there's also Breeze, similar, not
Okay.
exactly the same. In the past, there was something else that was like quite literally like reservation link and then you make the date.
Yeah.
You're on this app right now where people put up reservations and you basically swipe on the date. Like you say you're interested or you're not
Yes.
interested. Have you been seeing, like, this is a relatively new app. It's in the past year and you're on only that and Hinge. Are you seeing any success from it?
So I've been on it since probably October. I've been on 3 dates from the app. I would say one of them was good, and then 2 of them, like, just not a fit. But I do like the concept. I like that it jumps to the plan. And I like, obviously, the restaurant bar component, because I think, like, it is intriguing seeing where people pick. Like, I'm not necessarily, like, the girl that's like, oh, this guy picked carbone, so, like, I'm gonna, like, go for a free carbone meal.
So even beyond like this specific dating app and Hinge, like, do you find that people like slide into your DMs ever because you're like on social media?
Yeah, no, I've gotten people that slide into my DMs. I think I've only gone out with one person that slid in, like, through my food page and did not like him. Like, it wasn't, like, bad, just not for me.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, most of the time, it won't really work out, in my opinion. But, yeah, I mean, it kind of just depends, like, person to person, but I don't know, I wouldn't really count that as a viable way,
Like a viable funnel
for prospects, because, you know, it's usually not the best quality people.
That's valid. Yeah, I mean, people say that like Instagram is the #1 dating app, but
Yeah, and I think, you know, when I think of that, I think of, like, a guy discovering a hot girl and sliding in.
yeah,
Maybe she's Instagram famous of sorts. But we're talking about situations where it's like a really pretty picture of a girl, and, you know, it's more like this is like her personal Instagram. And so it's just very different situation than like someone seeing your like influencer page and then is interested. I think I see those differently.
yeah, because it's not a holistic view of who you are as a
Yeah.
person. I do want to talk a little bit about, you did say you're a little traditional.
Yeah.
I think you had an interesting upbringing.
I know what you're going to say.
I mean, your mom is like a dating guru.
Yeah.
How would, like, do you think that was an influence at all for you growing up?
Definitely. She never pushed like anything on me,
Mhm.
and I honestly like tell her like basically nothing about my dating life.
Right.
Which I think for her in ways is like reverse psychology. Like, I say nothing, and so like if I bring something up, it's like because I want to type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, obviously, like, in any way in your upbringing, like, you, what do you call it? Like, digest things that your parents believe in, all the different things. And so obviously it seeps into as you grow up, but it wasn't like, again, she never pushed anything on me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she is traditional, just like, but like, to me, it's like nothing crazy. Like, I think it's things that I think most people would agree on.
Mhm.
Like, just like with like guys and effort and like initiative and all of the things.
What are some of her, like, I don't know too much about her, like, ethos in her career.
Yeah.
But, like, what are some of the
pretty
things
much
maybe you agree with?
Like, her whole, I guess, concept and beliefs is very much like guys should pursue a girl and that girls shouldn't, always be trying to pursue guys. And the whole, like, philosophy just comes off of, like, basically, so I'm, like, reliving my mom's life in ways which is not unique at all. Like, but she did grow up in New York. I didn't grow up in New York, but, like, and then she lived in the city pretty much till she got married. She also worked in advertising, major in journalism, all the things. And basically, she was living in the city, like, kind of Sex in the City vibes. And she would just notice that, like, the girls she knew who were, I guess, more, like, letting guys pursue them or whatever, just were having a better success versus the girls who were, like, chasing after guys who didn't want them and like not super secure with themselves and like all those things. And she just was noticing, the different success in dating across the board. And so her and her best friend were picking up on this and basically started writing about all of it. And that's how she kind of got to these conclusions. But I think her book and all the things is targeting people who have gotten hurt a lot, who are not super confident, who are trying to get married and have had a lot of bad dating luck, like all of those things. It definitely can span to like any age. I would say that it targets a lot of older people who are really looking to like buckle down on like getting married and like finding the one. But she's definitely helped people of like all ages. But yeah, I think it's just like knowing your self-worth. So it's like if a guy has made it clear, in various ways that he's not interested, just maybe he had the opportunity to ask you out and didn't, and like just like stuff like that. It's like you don't need to like push it on someone who's not, pursuing you when you could just, find someone who's like obsessed with you from the jump. And so I do agree with that. I'm not strict in any way about what I do. I'm traditional, but like obviously like I've made the first move like plenty of times. I think I just do, and because her whole thing is that like men and women are biologically different and like men are like hunters and it's just kind of like that's their nature. And so you kind of can't mess with nature. Like they like the chase, like it really explains the whole like they want what they can't have. So like it explains how the girl that's not super interested in them, they're like, oh my God, I really want her type of thing. Right. And so, those situations often are more successful than the ones where you kind of have to convince the guy to be with you, which to me is crazy. And so it's just all of that stuff, which I think really is like when you are confident in who you are, what you value you have, you never feel the need to chase a guy because if he doesn't want me, like I don't want him. And so I think to me it's such a hand in hand with confidence where you never need to like, feel like that you need to prove yourself to someone.
Totally. That must have been like an interesting environment to grow up in. I'm sure your mom is like, I feel like now more than ever, in like the past year or two, I've seen women become even more aggressive when it comes to pursuing men. And maybe I think that has something to do with like the downfall of dating apps, that they've just gotten so much worse in the past 2 years that everybody is like, I want to meet in person, which is a benefit to us because like, obviously that's what we do. But then I see it at our events, like how, and even with our media, like every time we put out a guy, there's always a lot of interest from women. Yeah. Like, I wonder what she thinks about this, like, or what you guys think about this, like, shift in the past couple of years where it's like women are very much the pursuers, especially in New York City.
So one thing she talks about a lot as to why she feels over time that, or even at the time of her writing, of why women became more aggressive is because they treated dating the same way as they treated their careers. So, like, my mom wrote her first book when I was born in, like, 1996. And basically, you know, she was like, women are becoming doctors, lawyers, all the things. Some of them are becoming more successful than men. And so but she was saying, like, you can't treat dating and careers the same way because it's like, it's not the same. And so, but she's very pro, like, in-person events. Like, she literally met my dad at a singles mixer in the city.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was like an old Chinese restaurant that doesn't exist, but it was actually a couple blocks from my first apartment.
Wow.
Yeah, no, she's like always texting me, like, go to this event, and it's like literally like the most random bizarre thing, and I'm like, I'm not going to this. No, she's a huge
the way that
proponent.
she's like tapped into the New York City dating
She's
event
tapped into
circuit.
something really weird, that's for sure. But like, she used to go to there would be like singles getaways in the Catskills. She's telling me to go to that. I'm like, does that even still exist? Like, I'm not.
I mean, I actually have had conversations about potentially planning a group trip, and I'm like, could be fun, like a drinks first group trip if it was like super vetted.
My mom would be thrilled. But like, no, she's a big proponent, and yeah, like, things back then were, besides the technology and phones, were not that different then. Like, my mom was like, dating sucked back then too. Like, she hated going to singles mixers. Like, she said she would, like, sometimes go for 10 minutes and leave.
Yeah.
And so, you know, she gets it. But yeah, she is a believer in that. And I think that, like, her thing is just like, you know, you can go to the events, but you don't need to, like, walk up to every guy and, like, make things happen. I think obviously you can talk to people, but at the end of the day, like, let some people pursue you, especially, like, if you're at a singles mixer where people are already with the intention of, like, they're single and they want to meet people. Obviously someone's bound to come up to you.
You have a higher chance.
And I just don't think that you need to, you know, push things that aren't necessarily meant for you. But I think that in terms of, like, the pursuing, like, there are ways to do it where it's like, maybe you made the first move with a guy, but now let him take the reins and, like, let him, like, show that he is interested and, like, start making plans and stuff. Like, it doesn't mean, like, you don't have to do absolutely anything, but I think you have to kind of, like, take your hands off the wheel to, like, see that you're not the one carrying this, like, love interest.
And I think that's difficult for a lot of women in New York because a lot of us are very type A, like, very driven, very, like, okay, exactly like what you said, career focused, whatever. Then it's like, okay, dating is, like, another thing that needs to be tackled. Like, let me, like, put all of my energy and effort towards it. You have been to a bunch of different singles events. I feel like you've, like, tried out a bunch of different things. You get invited to things, whatever. Like, what's your general read on that landscape here?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on the event. Like, every event is set up different. There's some that are, like, sit-down dinners. There's some that are more, like, late-night vibes. I think the ones that are, like, more sit-down dinner, probably you're going to have a better time talking to people. But, yeah, I mean, I think, in my opinion, it's good to try at least one of each different type of event that you hear of so that you can figure out what you like and what you don't. Try to go to some of the smaller ones so that you have an easier time meeting people. And I mean, generally I always go with at least one friend, but if you're brave and go by yourself, you're probably putting yourself in even better position to really, like, meet people
someone
and not just, like, chat with your friend. But yeah, I feel like you should really, like, just try all different ones and, like, just make an effort, because nothing bothers me more than when people complain about, like, dating apps or dating and then they do absolutely nothing about it. Like, don't talk to me about how you don't like dating if you literally are not looking to, like, go to any events. Like, you can just not speak about it.
And what, I know we talked a little bit about what you're looking for, but do you have, like, beyond just, like, somebody who's ambitious and somebody who's kind, like, do you have any other, like, things that you're interested in? For those who might be listening.
I mean, like, similar background is nice. I try not to get, too, like, picky in, like, the details because I think it's, like, so unnecessary. Like, I'm not that girl that, like, I mean, I've written it down, like, once, but, like, the people that, like, write down, like, the 20 characteristics that they want in the person. And they're like, I wrote it down. And then
all came
and
through.
then the next week he showed up in the elevator.
Right.
Like, please. But yeah, no, similar backgrounds, values, religion are kind of the big ones.
What religion are you?
I'm Jewish.
Okay.
So yeah, ideally looking for someone Jewish too, but I think beyond that, you can't really, like, tell yourself what that is. Like, every girl wants, like, someone tall and successful and, like, all the things, but I just don't think that that is, like, something you should be, like, acting like is important, because you just can't, like, predict who, like, your future partner is going to be.
Totally.
And you need to be open and, like, I just think it's always, like, they say, like, the people that unexpectedly take you by surprise, or, like, because if it was so easy as to, like, oh, this is my perfect type and I see him and, like, we fall in love, like, I just don't think that's always realistic. And sometimes you have to be, like, open, and, like, there's just, so many different personalities and things.
Yeah. One question that we might slot in earlier in the interview, but have you, like, been on any, like, really terrible dates, or have you been on any really great dates that you want to share?
I knew you would ask me the first question. Honestly, like, as I get older, I've been on less bad dates.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason for that. Like, I feel like I was thinking back to...
I think we're just way more discerning. I look at when I was dating when I was, like, 23, 24, and I was, like, reckless and down for kind of anything.
Totally. Like, you're not, like, signing up for, like, just anything.
Right.
But, yeah, so I feel like my worst dates were pre-living in this city, where this was, like, probably 2019, 2020. Like, one of them was in New Jersey where I was living back then, and because I was thinking about this before, like, he, like, paid for the dinner, but he wanted to, like, split a cocktail, which, looking back, is, like, so crazy.
What, so he, like, Venmo'd you for, like, $10 or something?
No, sorry, like, he wanted to, like, share one cocktail, which was obviously, like, a cheap move.
Right.
So weird. Like, now if somebody did that, I'd be like, you're insane.
Yeah.
And then when we got to a cocktail bar after even at the dinner, he was like, oh, like, you can get the cocktail bar, and, like, I'll get the dinner. And it's like, what a weird thing. Like,
you're already, like, preemptively, like, budgeting.
Well, I just think that, like, it's fine to, like, I think first date, a guy should always pay. And I think that as dates go on, like, sure, like, a girl can chip in for, like, the bar after, like, other things. I just think, yeah, like, that shouldn't be how it is on the first date, but also the fact that you're, like, yeah, managing the who pays for which things, it just really irked me the wrong way. And then I remember I went out with this guy who, on one of our dates, it could have been, like, 4th or 5th date, he, like, had us take pickleback shots. And I'm like, this is disgusting. And, like, are you in, like, college?
Yeah.
Like, it was just, like, a very weird choice. And I think he would, like, be, like, I just remember he was, like, really drunk on one of our dates. And I think it was, like, he drank before or something. But I was like, this is, like, bizarre. This is, like, a Wednesday night. And it was, like, I'm, like, in my early...
So he was an alcoholic, maybe.
Like, not an alcoholic, but just definitely, like, I don't know, like, the people who need to, like, drink a bunch before a date, or, like, drink too much on the date. Like, obviously I'm older now, so my opinion has changed, but I just don't think that you need to be drinking a ton. I mean, I'm not, like, the biggest drinker, so that's part of it, but I do think it's, like, going to mess with your dating, right? Because if you're going on dates with this guy, but then you, like, drink, like, 5 drinks with him, like, how do you know if you even like him?
Yeah.
And so I just don't think it's smart on, like, either part. So it is kind of a turnoff for someone to, like, get really drunk on the date, because it's, like, you're supposed to be, like, showing your best, or not
self.
best self, but, like, you're trying to, like, make a good impression.
Right.
And, like, there's something attractive about you being like low-key trash on the date.
Okay, so we end every episode with this or that questions called shots. Are you ready to do some shots?
I'm ready.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Start drinking and I'll ask you questions. Okay, Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
Delivery or sit-down restaurant?
Sit down.
Bus or train?
Train.
Country or city?
City.
Morning or night?
Night.
Call or text?
Text.
Instagram or TikTok?
TikTok.
What's your typical Sunday?
Like filming, coffee, trying to get shit done.
What's your favorite season?
Summer.
What's your favorite song at the moment?
Cannot think of anything.
Give me something.
Oh my god. Nokia.
Nokia. I drank. Okay, rate yourself out of 10.
8.
If you had a boat, what would you name it?
Bella.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming on. If you are interested in matching with our guest, you can go to our link in bio or in the description. There's a form you can fill out. Or you can check out our Instagram at drinkstopfirst. I'm your host, Ariana Nathani. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yay.